Hello and a warm welcome to Granada Reports for the latest news and sport right here in the Northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on the programme this evening.
Answers at last. After a 5-year wait, Kelly finally learns what killed her parents, John and Susan. Now a coroner considers what lessons must be learned from this Lancashire family's tragedy.
The gunman who shot Ashley Dale at her home in Liverpool says it's been a year of torture for him. We're live with the latest from court.
As we prepare to remember them, tonight's the remarkable story of the man who helped turn the tide for the Allies in the Battle of the Atlantic during World War II.
In celebration of friendship, they're the rugby legends and best friends who have done so much for charity and to raise awareness of motor neurone disease. Rob Burrow and Kevin Sinfield tell us what's next.
I wanted to do this book with Kevin to highlight the importance of friendship and show that there are many ways to be strong.
And in the weather, autumn is the season that's so easy on the eye. Colour is everywhere. All the details for the full forecast coming up.
Please do stay with us for that. But first tonight, an inquest into the death of a Burnley couple in Egypt heard today that it's likely they died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
John and Susan Cooper fell ill suddenly after reporting a strange smell in their room when they were on a family holiday.
They died 5 years ago, and today their family finally heard medical evidence from Egypt, an expert analysis on what could have caused their death.
Our reporter Jennifer Buck is in Blackburn where that inquest has been taking place. Jennifer, what else did the inquest hear?
Well, after the emotional evidence we heard yesterday from John and Susan Cooper's family, today we were down to cause and effect. Why did they die? How did they die? What caused that sudden and violent illness for John and Susan Cooper? We heard today from Professor Robert Chilcott. Now, he told the inquest that there was a level of carbon monoxide in both Mr and Mrs Cooper's systems when they died. Now, he is the toxicologist. He carried out 2 separate blood tests on the couple's bodies when they returned here to Britain from Egypt. He said the levels of carbon monoxide were consistent with severe and significant exposure and indicative of serious poisoning. We also heard today from pathologist Dr. Charles Wilson. Now, he carried out the post-mortem here when the bodies were returned. He said some of the organs were not returned with the bodies from Egypt, and that made his job that much harder. He was also carrying on from earlier analysis as the bodies were carried out. There was an autopsy on the bodies already in Egypt. He said that the deaths of Mr and Mrs Cooper had to be caused by something in the environment, just due to the similarities in both of their symptoms.
So Jennifer, a breakthrough today as we move closer to knowing the cause of death, but any ideas on where the carbon monoxide may have come from?
Well, we heard yesterday about the room next to Mr and Mrs Cooper that had been fumigated. That's because they'd found bed bugs in it. Now, today a direct link was made to that, and the question was asked if the chemicals used in that deep clean could have led to this poisoning. Now, Professor Chilcott said that was possible, but is difficult to prove. Now, we heard that dichloromethane is the chemical used to dilute the pesticide that was used, and that can produce carbon monoxide when it's inhaled. Now, we know that the front door from the next door bedroom was sealed off, but that adjoining door into Mr and Mrs Cooper's room, while it was closed, it was not sealed off. Now, the coroner is now considering 2 days of evidence, and he'll return with his findings on Friday.
Jennifer in Blackburn, thank you.
Well, next tonight, the man who has admitted shooting Ashley Dale at her home in Liverpool has told the court the past 12 months have been torture for him.
Yes, council worker Ashley was killed last summer. James Whittam, who admits manslaughter but denies murder, was the gunman. In all, 5 men are on trial in connection with Ashley's death. It was James Whittam's turn to give evidence today. Victoria Grimes was at court to hear what he said, and she joins us now. Victoria.
Yes, Gamal. Well, Ashley Dale's family were once again in court to hear 41-year-old James Whittam give evidence for the second day. Now, he told the jury that what happened in the early hours of the 21st of August last year was a moment of madness. Of course, that was the night that Ashley was shot dead at her home in Old Swan after an alleged feud between 5 men accused of her murder and her partner, Lee Harrison. Now, James Witham has admitted manslaughter but denies murder. He said he was wearing a balaclava that night and he fired shots with a Scorpion submachine gun to send what he described as a warning to Lee Harrison, who he claimed had robbed him. He said he had no idea that Ashley was there. He did not see her and he did not hear her. He said he only found out that she was dead the following day. Now, he's described the last year as torture for himself, saying, "I've got to spend my life knowing what I did to that girl." He said he's been unable to sleep and has nightmares. He also told the court that no one else was involved in the shooting, and when asked by the prosecution if he was the fall guy for the others, he said, "No, that's not true. They couldn't do that. Nobody could do that." Now, James Witham then went on to describe how after the shooting, he and one of his co-defendants, Joseph Pearce, had gone to a hotel in St Helens. He'd wanted to have a swim, a steam and a sauna to help him relax, he said. "My brain was doing overtime." Now, as I said, James Witham denies manslaughter. He admits manslaughter but denies murder. He and his co-defendants, Sean Zeiss, Niall Barry, Ian Fitzgibbon and Joseph Pearce, all deny murder. They deny conspiracy to murder and conspiracy to possess a prohibited weapon. A 6th man, Callum Radford, denies assisting an offender. The trial is due to continue here tomorrow morning.
Victoria, thank you.
More news now, and police officers are guarding a cenotaph in Rochdale after it was vandalised with Free Palestine graffiti. The cenotaph in the town centre also had its poppies stripped, and 2 teenagers have been charged with causing public nuisance. Rochdale councils describe the incident as totally unacceptable.
The mother of a 22-year-old woman who was killed in St Helens 35 years ago has been awarded an MBE. Mary McCourt's daughter Helen was murdered in 1988. Ever since, she's campaigned to make it harder for killers to be released if they refuse to reveal where a body is. Her MBE recognises her service to other families with relatives who have been unlawfully killed.
Well, next to the latest in our special reports marking Remembrance Week.
Yeah, last night we heard from 101-year-old Isle of Man Burma veteran James Fenton.
Well, tonight we cross to Liverpool to feature a man who helped turn the tide for the Allies in the Battle of the Atlantic during World War II.
Yeah, these are incredible stories. Captain Johnny Walker became the most successful U-boat hunter during the war, as Paul Crone reports.
The completion of 20 days successful U-boat hunting in the North Atlantic ends with the arrival at Liverpool of sloops of the 2nd Escort Group. 6 German submarines sunk in an operation which the First Lord of the Admiralty assessed as far-reaching in importance and comparable to Trafalgar. HMS Starling enters port with Captain Walker, Group Commander, standing forward.
Adored by his crew and the people of his adopted city Liverpool, Captain Johnny Walker was feared by U-boat commanders across the Atlantic Ocean during World War II. German submarines or U-boats wreaked havoc on the high seas, and during the Second World War, over 650 Allied convoys were hit by U-boats working together in what were known as wolf packs.
Churchill, at the end of the war, said that it was the only thing that ever scared him was the threat of the U-boats, and they had what was known as the happy time, the Kriegsmarine, where they had almost free reign of the Atlantic and were just destroying merchant ships at will. So it was a very, very real threat to a complete Nazi victory.
The strategy of Royal Navy vessels trying to protect convoys by sticking to them as closely as possible simply wasn't working, and Captain Johnny Walker, who took command of the 36th Escort Group in 1941, knew things had to change.
Well, Walker peeled off, and what he'd do was go out and hunt the U-boats down, and what that did was actually had multiple effects. It confused the U-boats because all of a sudden they were on the back foot, they were coming under attack. It scuppered their tactics because obviously they carefully planned an attack and that had to be abandoned. And also it really knocked the morale of the Kriegsmarine because all of a sudden they went from being this kind of undefeated force to these missions becoming very real and very dangerous.
This footage shows Walker's ship HMS Stark returning to the port of Liverpool in 1944 and receiving a hero's welcome after the sinking of 6 U-boats on a single patrol.
I never hoped to have had the great good fortune to be here at the psychological moment when you should return from one of the greatest cruises, the greatest cruise perhaps ever undertaken in this war.
But tragedy was only just round the corner.
His own son died as he was serving in the Navy as well, and he came back into Gladstone Dock, Johnny Walker, to hear over the radio that his son had passed away, so you can only imagine the impact that would have had.
Sadly, there's no happy ending to Captain Walker's amazing exploits in the Atlantic. Exhaustion and overwork eventually took its toll, and he died 2 days after suffering a cerebral thrombosis whilst on leave. He never got to enjoy the Allies' victory or see the end of the war. His funeral took place in Liverpool in July 1944, where thousands gathered to pay their respects.
Johnny Walker was a leader, and I think often leaders are ones that don't seek to be leaders, but they become natural leaders through their actions, and Johnny Walker was very much one of those people.
Captain Walker was buried at sea in Liverpool Bay. A statue on the city's waterfront is a fitting and lasting legacy to this unassuming but extraordinary man. Paul Crone, ITV News.
What a remarkable story.
Yeah, a true leader, a true hero. Well, now it's time for sport, and Marcus Rashford returns for Manchester United in the Champions League tonight, David.
Yeah, he's back and he's very committed to the club, so says his manager. Erik ten Hag says the forward is available this evening for their trip away to FC Copenhagen, where United will face an atmosphere 100 times more intense than Old Trafford. That's according to the boss of the Danish champions. And Rashford is in contention to experience that after he's recovered from injury. Well, United's top goal scorer from last season is struggling this season with just one so far for his club.
Marcus is very committed to Manchester United, to this team, and he's investing real hard work and training to get back in his form.
I've never played against Copenhagen in here. I've only been here with the national team, and I do know the atmosphere with the national team is very special. So I do expect a special atmosphere, but I don't know if it's 100 times more theatrical than it would be at Old Trafford. I'm not sure about that.
The Football League, Bolton continued their good form in League One as they beat Shrewsbury 2-0. It's their 5th win in a row and keeps them 3rd in the table. Elsewhere, Wigan got the better of Peterborough at the DW Stadium. Callum McManaman scored the winner in the 82nd minute as they won 2-1. Well, now to ice hockey, and Manchester Storm say the majority of their players are now wearing neck protectors following the death of the Nottingham Panthers player Adam Johnson. The 29-year-old died after his neck was cut by an ice skate during a match. The coroner investigating his death is calling for the extra protection to now be mandatory. Honouring a man who lost his life playing the game he loved. Manchester Storm remember the Nottingham Panthers player Adam Johnson, who died during a match with the Sheffield Steelers last week. The 29-year-old's death has shaken the sport.
Yeah, it's a devastating tragedy, horrible incident, and it was a tough week for everybody, not just in our league, but the hockey community and across the world. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Johnson family and friends and everybody involved, the Nottingham organisation, the Sheffield organisation. Just a terrible tragedy.
When something like this does happen, it affects everybody in the sport. How's it affected you?
Yeah, I think it's you kind of take a step back and reflect on what you're doing and why you play the game and the consequences that could happen with doing that. So it's been very upsetting.
The American died after his neck was cut by an ice skate. Players are now being encouraged to use neck protectors, and here among the Storm squad they've gone from none to the majority of players now wearing Kevlar ones.
These are the neck protectors we brought in for our guys. We imported these from Canada. All the guys majority of them were wearing them last week, and I'll let my physio Tom here, we'll kind of show you how they go on.
So securely put on, and then make sure the bib goes underneath the shoulder pads, and there we are.
We encourage everybody to kind of relook. I think that's, when something like this happens, you have to take a second to stop and kind of go, are we doing what's best for us and for our team and for the sport?
The coroner investigating Adam Johnson's death is recommending neck guards now be mandatory in ice hockey. At the moment, any player over 18 is encouraged to wear them, but not forced to.
So you've got the neck protector on. Is that something you wore before, or is this something that you've changed now after this?
It's just something that we've started wearing in the last week, obviously, and it's obviously personal choice, but anything that can prevent something like that happening again, I think most guys are on board with that.
Or are you confident that when people go on the ice, they're as safe as can be?
Yeah, we have a great setup here. Patrol and paramedics they're kind of spread out through the rink, and we met with them and they met with the players just to kind of reassure them that they were in the best hands here. So we're confident. Like you said, it's a horrible accident, tragedy, but we are prepared for worst case scenarios.
Storm's next game is on Saturday at home to the Sheffield Steelers in what's the Yorkshire side's first match since Adam Johnson's death. Emotions will once again be high as ice hockey pays more tributes to one of their own. Yeah, incredibly sad to see what happened, but it's incredible as well to see how the world of ice hockey's kind of pulled together just to pay tribute and to remember Adam Johnson as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, David.
OK, here's Mary with what's to come on the national and international news at 6:30.
Coming up on the programme, Leeds mourns a tragic loss after a teenager is stabbed to death outside a primary school. Tributes to the 15-year-old boy, named locally as Alfie Lewis, described a kind and thoughtful boy. The row over pro-Palestinian protests continues as Rishi Sunak summons the head of the Met Police to Downing Street.
Karamak, the golden creamy bar.
Is this really the end of Karamak? Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30. Well, next tonight we are celebrating friendship with some lovely views from you at home, because we always like to try to lift the end of the programme on Granada Reports. And tonight we're going to bring you an inspiring friendship that has moved the whole nation.
Yeah, who can forget these images as Oldham Rugby League star Kevin Sinfield carried his old teammate and best friend Rob Burrow over a marathon finish line earlier this year.
It's 4 years since Rob was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, an incurable degenerative condition that affects the brain and the nervous system. Well, since then, he and Kevin spend their time raising awareness and funding for MND charities.
Well, Kevin's just announced a new challenge, running 7 ultramarathons in 7 days. Impressive stuff, right? And the two have also worked together on a new children's book called With You Every Step. They joined me in the studio.
I wanted to do this book with Kevin to highlight the importance of friendship and show that there are many ways to be strong. And I'm hoping the book will appeal to young boys in particular to show that friendships can be based on love and vulnerability. True friends like Kevin are always with their friends even when times are tough. I used to love reading stories to my 3 young children, and I hope that this book will give them an insight into what true friendship is.
Kevin, the title is called With You Every Step. Does that very much encapsulate everything your friendship is about and everything that this book is about?
Yeah. We probably need to understand we played alongside each other 15 years at Leeds Rhinos, through some really good times, but through some difficult times as well, as you get in sport, and especially team sport, and the strength I've got from Rob. And he's just an incredible human being, and he's been a beacon of light for the M&D community. The way he's campaigned, the way he's shown people how to live, how the Burrow family have shown us what love is and respect, and the beautiful emotions that humans can have. Rob has displayed that, and yeah, it's been a tough old journey, but we're certainly stronger from it.
Your friendship has touched the whole nation, and it's really transcended the world sport. What is that friendship, what is that love from Kevin meant to you?
Kev was my captain, and he still is my captain. He always will be. We've played together for years. We sat next to each other in the dressing room. We went through the highs and lows of rugby league. The highs were amazing, but he always looked after us. And here he is now still looking after us all. He doesn't like fuss, and he won't like me saying it, but he puts his body on the line every time he steps up to start a challenge. He could give James Bond a run for his money, and he always has a cheeky message for me when I see him. You will see him say a few words in my ear, and those words are normally funny or not repeatable.
Still time for banter between the both of you. That never really goes away, does it?
No, that doesn't change. The advantage I have at the minute means I can get in quickly and get in before he does, but he probably had 15 years of getting in quickly before I did, so he's very witty, he's very dry, he's a wonderful human being, and I think he's taught us all plenty of great things.
You've mentioned emotions a few times in conversations that you've had. Emotions, vulnerability is also something that you've mentioned with regards to this book. There are words that aren't usually synonymous with rugby players, hard man rugby players. But is that the exact reason why you do think it is important to use those words?
Yeah, well, I just think we were pretty lucky because we played in a team that didn't talk about these vulnerabilities, but we're happy to show them to each other and happy to feel exposed at times. And that meant in big moments, in big games, we believed that we'd turn up for each other, and this is an extension of it now in real life, if you like. And I hope people go back to the book from time to time. It's a book you could probably read cover to cover in a couple of minutes. I'd like to think there are some bits in the book that can help them be better friends, and it's thanks to this fella.
Today you've announced a new challenge, the 777 challenge. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's we have to keep banging the drum. Whilst ever Rob shows the fight that he's got, and whilst ever there's a cure to be found, I'll keep trying to do my little bit. And so we will run 7 marathons in 7 days, but we'll add an extra mile on every day. And we'll go across the UK and Ireland and hit 7 different cities, some of which we haven't been to yet, but we go to Leeds, Cardiff, Birmingham, Edinburgh, Dublin, Brighton, and finish off in London. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
The very best luck with that challenge. Kevin, Rob, gentlemen, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a wonderful interview, Gamal. Aren't they great?
Lovely guys. So warm, kind, generous with their time. I could have chatted to them all day.
Yeah, and friendship.
Real
it's
treat.
just such an important thing. I just hope everyone finds that, perhaps under the Christmas tree this year, that book, with you every step.
Very special guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so many of you have been in touch about these two this evening.
Yeah, these are just some of the comments. Matt Eagles in Cheshire says, their friendship is one of the most beautiful stories I have ever heard. It brings tears to my eyes.
This one from John Burns from Colne. He says, your best friend is the person who can laugh and cry in the good, the bad and the sad times. I've known my best mate since starting college together, and he's the godfather to my youngest son.
Yeah, lovely. Debbie Riley in Chester says, friends are people who care, support and love unconditionally.
Sue Lancashire says, theirs is the most genuine, moving and inspiring friendship, isn't it? It always brings a lump to my throat. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and Anne Dempsey in Liverpool, a true friend is easy company, supportive and loyal, but most importantly, you genuinely care for one another.
Yeah, it does make me want to call my best mates and say hello.
I was your best
You
mate.
are my best friends, but I have other best mates.
OK, let's get the weather from Emma.
Mom, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, I hope you've had a fabulous Wednesday. Still some intrepid walkers out there in our showers at the moment, but when the sun comes out, it's absolutely glorious. And after tonight and tomorrow, fewer showers in the forecast, so turning drier and colder, but then wetter and milder into the start of next week. Well, it would be. So taking a closer look at the details, some showers funneling across the Atlantic on a very active jet stream. And you can see that by these blue colours spilling down from the north, it's going to turn colder Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday, but then the oranges and the yellows flood back in again for Monday, so that's when it turns milder again. So as I say, colder, drier over the weekend, but then milder, wetter into the start of next week. Rewinding then to the next few hours, a few showers keep coming, and these could merge to longer spells of rain in places. Could be a rumble of thunder in there too, some clearer spells in between, but we will be frost-free overnight tonight, and it will be a little bit breezier through the Irish Sea there. Here are sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow. Sun's up at 7:25, sets at 4:23. And again, the showers keep coming for a while. They could merge, especially in the morning and especially at the coast. Could be heavy, could be a rumble of thunder in there, maybe a spot of hail as well. And also the possibility of some wintriness over the very tops, above 600 metres, particularly over the tops of the Pennines. So if you are going trans-Pennine tomorrow, just be aware of that. Lighter winds. It's going to be quite a cool feeling day tomorrow as well. And after that, the showers peak on Thursday evening before they ease overnight. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, lots of sunshine around, some cold nights, a few showers at the coast on Friday. Saturday, Sunday, some mist and fog in the mornings. Bye-bye.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Emma, keeping the purple theme going. Well, just time for a few more of your comments about friendship inspired by that remarkable bond between Rob and Kevin.
Jessica's mum has been in touch to say Jessica in Liverpool, who's 9, and Jackson, who is from Grimsby, became best friends through their stoma journey. They always meet up every few months despite living 124 miles apart.
Yeah, Jessica is really brave about all that as well. And Deb in Wigan says, best friends are people who you can call any time and who will be honest with you no matter what. Maybe not too honest. Thanks.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.